Hi guys. Today we're gonna talk about what we called churches. So churches are some constructions that can be actually seen at all the parts of the world, and mostly European, and some of them are not called churches; they're called cathedrals and stuff like that. But whatever you call them, it's a church or church type of building. So I'm gonna screen share what I'm talking about so you can understand. First, to start the topic, I would like to show you some pictures of them. So this is the church, abandoned churches in Russia. We have a whole bunch of them, and they all look pretty much the same. They all built from the brick, and as I was saying, Russia is supposed to be the modern Russia covers all the territory of previous Russia or Great Tartaria, so it must have left some evidence that the churches actually were existing, and we can find those churches. They are abandoned right now. Most of them, some of them are working, of course, but hundreds and hundreds of them are just left and abandoned. Some of them getting restored from time to time, but as I said, most of them are just abandoned and staying like in the middle of nowhere. So if that would be a village or something like that, so even if they have a village close to it, but not so close, of course, as you can see, there's no village around. Uh, so let's try to analyze. But first, let's check this. Uh, this is my post about the dome question. That was the video I was making maybe in August 2016, one of the first of my videos, and it shows uh, so-called domes of cathedrals, interesting cathedrals. Um, and as you can see, it has some paintings on it, and those paintings are splendid, and also it has some structure, and those domes are everywhere. So I figured out, okay, those domes are pretty complex. We can, we cannot build them without some reinforcement and stuff like that. So of course it was well designed and well projected, and it must have its explanation. But we're gonna talk about this later. Maybe in the end of this series of mudflat, we're gonna talk about this colonial or emperor style of those huge domes that I'm showing now. But today we're gonna be more simple and specific. We're gonna talk about Russian abandoned churches, and we are going to uh, talk of them as the objects of some purpose, because well, I'll explain it a little bit later. Why is that? So let's think about the bricks first. So the bricks consist of some clay, which was uh, let's say mined somewhere. Maybe it's a lake, or maybe it's a quarry of clay or something like that. Maybe it's close to the river. So just imagine that all of those abandoned churches, if they built from bricks, they were built from the clay, which made bricks and make the stove. Yeah, the stove of fire and so-called. So let's check on this production of the bricks. This is modern type of production. Of course, you're gonna have to have clay. Of course, you're gonna have to have some type of machinery. It's a modern way, and it's pretty technological, as you can see. Not that simple. It has all this machinery. It has all these filters and maybe some like this, which is mixing stuff. And there you go. There you go. You have a good clay forms, and they form it with this little brick type of forms. That's how they do it. So probably it's the same old way of brick production. Probably because you don't see this is what this is completely the cycle of the brick forming. It couldn't be the same right now. It can be the same in the ancient times. So it has to have the temperature, and it has to have uh, transportation, and it has to have some caliber or size. So the one who orders the brick, the architecture, who actually does the blueprint of the building, he has to have the project of the building and design of the building is pretty much the same, because you have to specify of what materials is going to be built. So it has to be a special form of a brick, so you can calculate all your expenses, all your needs, all your supplies to build something. So it has to be a production with the well-known form of the brick, and all the bricks are pretty much the same in those old churches. Let's say. So if those churches are something that is well designed by some architectures and stuff like that, so if they have specified this, where are all those papers? Nobody has the papers of any church. And of course, you're gonna have to be a smart man, and you have to be famous in some areas, because people know that you can do such design, and which is gonna be standing for like couple of 100 years, and even though it's abandoned, it's still standing, because the size of the walls, the depth of the walls is so huge. Uh, the depth of the wall under this tower is almost 2 meters, so it's like 6.5, yeah, 6.5, almost 7 feet deep. The depth of the wall of the church is 5 foot deep, 5 feet deep. Okay, so this is unimaginary, because why did they build those churches? They say to us it was a Christian church or whatever, even if it's not a Christian church, but it was used for collective praying. So when people collect in one place and somebody tells them the regulations of how to pray and stuff like that, or maybe has some religion operation to them. So it's just for collective praying. And as the Bible says, you're gonna have a church inside yourself. You don't have to go to church to pray. You are the church inside yourself, and you can pray God wherever you want. You want to pray it on the beach, you're gonna pray it on the beach. If you want to pray it on the inside your house, you can pray inside your house. But they say the churches were built specifically this way, just for praying and for some reasons of those churches. Okay, so I'm gonna try to prove that it is too much expensive, and I found those interesting things like this. So this is ordinary Russian house in a village, and it has these pictures of Christian topics, like all those saints and stuff like that. So you can see it's okay to have it in Russia. And as you can see, this is what is inside Russian churches. It's far more expensive and far more technological, because all this stuff is specified with some uh, special things. Every detail needs to be architecturally designed before it's done, because if you're doing it just spontaneously at the period they said to you, oh, let's do such a thing. Okay, let's do it. How are you gonna do it? When are you gonna do it? From what you're gonna do it? With what colors are you gonna paint it on? You have to know all these things before you start such a thing, because if you screw up on any detail here inside, the outside of this church or the outside of the building itself is not gonna be good enough, because people wanna step inside and they're gonna see something that you screwed up. It's the same thing as building the church itself, because every detail is specified. Think about it. And just like here, just like in those famous places with these domes and stuff like that, when you think it's just a painting, no, it's not just a painting. It is specified for the use of this building. Some buildings don't have paintings. Some buildings have these crazy designs and stuff like that. This is just in Jerusalem. You can see this is design specified for some reason. This is a coffin of the God, as they say. It's a church of the coffin of the God, Christ coffin. So wherever you go and see those huge domes, just like in Russia, you see those abandoned churches, you're gonna understand that this is just something that is not quite logical. If you live in a Russian village, you're gonna see this type of thing. So wooden houses all around the place, just nothing is made from the brick, because it's a lot cheaper, warmer, and more efficient to live in a wooden house. When you see a whole bunch of wood around you, you can easily cut the tree and make yourself a building. That's okay. And we can see some churches are made from wooden material, but some of them are made from bricks, and they made like a bomb shelter or something like that, because the brick walls are so deep, like a castle. It's just for praying? I don't think so. Do you know what is the height of those things? It's just like an 8-story building, just for praying, as they say. Our ancestors were that stupid that made this high just for praying. Okay, that's what they tell us. And anyway, As you can see, most of those churches were made with this type of crazy stuff, crazy brickwork. Let's say where it is. Oh, here it is. No. Oops. Okay, let's. I think you can see it, but you see those little squares around here, 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 everywhere. And you know, every ceiling inside those buildings is made of bricks. So everything is made of bricks. All of this is made of bricks, in fact. So this is impossible because this technology is very, very expensive. Trust me. These are expensive houses in Russia when you build a house from the brick. And look, it's not very expensively as expensive as those built churches from 17th, 18th century. The very design is like little here and here. This is it. And this house costs like maybe $200,000 because in Russia it's very expensive to build a house from the bricks. So most of Russians have houses from the wood. But if you build from the brick, they can build you like different colors, brick house and stuff like that. And just imagine how can you do it when you have houses like this? Why do you want to build a church with the bricks and the wall of 2 meters deep? It's more than 6 feet deep. It's unimaginable. But they tell us it was just for praying. It was just for praying. And those paintings inside, sometimes they're just a cultural artifact because the style, the topic, the artwork, whatever you call it. Sometimes it shows all those shadows. It's not just a painting. It's a still style. It's a style. It's style of artwork. And sometimes it's just a genius type of artwork. Okay, so it's very expensive to screw up on each detail because when you build something like this, with this type of columns, it's just unimaginably expensive to build such thing. Okay, let's say I'll tell you, you are the customer, okay? I'm the construction bureau. So you come to me and say, look, man, I wanna like a huge church. I say, what is church? What do you mean by church? Not just a huge building so people can meet and, you know, gather for religious situations and stuff like that and pray God and maybe sing songs and stuff like that so they can like sit in lines or maybe stand in lines, whatever. Just a big building so the people can like gather. I say, okay, so first, uh, if you want just a small uh, ceiling, not that high, it's okay because we're gonna set this very easy. But if you want, as you can say, like 15-meter high dome like this, as you can say, just for praying, it's gonna cost you 3 times more because you're gonna have uh, less people inside because we have to build columns to hold this dome thing, and the depth of the walls gonna be bigger because it has to hold all this construction. And so is the basement, because basement is going to be more expensive. So this project is going to be more expensive, 3 times more expensive than a simple project with the simple stadium type of, maybe not stadium type, just a simple hangar type of church. Just the roof and the walls. Inside, it's just simple like this. No domes, no towers, but more area inside, more effective and efficient, more hot because you don't have to spend as much energy to warm up such building, because it's completely huge. Ceilings are hard to warm up. It's just a simple, obvious thing that is not so expensive to warm such house, because it has very predictive design and very efficient design. So when you have something like this, it's just a waste of energy. Look at this height. What do you need it for? You don't need it for nothing, because nothing is here. So why do you warm it up? Why do you spend all this energy? And where you take it from? So okay, it's very expensive. It's okay, but let's talk about the fire stoves that fire the brick and make a brick from the clay that it was. So bricks are very easy thing, as you think, but it's not that easy to transport them, because 1 cubic meter of the brick is more than a ton, almost 2 tons of weight. So it's like 1,700 kilograms, almost 2 tons. Just imagine the, let's say, this is the ordinary village thing. It can hold up to 800 kilograms. So to transport 1 cubic meter of bricks, you have to do 2 trips on this thing. But can you imagine how many cubic meters of bricks have to be put in this church? If it all consists, everything is consist of the bricks, and the depth is huge. So you're gonna be just transporting the bricks for like a serious period of time, just transporting, because I don't know how many bricks is here. It's very hard to calculate, but that's okay if you can transport it. But what are you gonna do with this? This is what Russia becomes in autumn, early winter, and all spring. And every time the rain comes in the place where you have asphalt roads, and as they can say, we had to make asphalt first at the when we were like in 20th last century, so it's like 100 years of asphalt. Before that we had so-called Okay, let's say this type of thing. So this is can't be done in a village, in every village, because no village has this type of thing. Nobody found anything like this in a village, in any village. This was only in the cities, but this is what was in the villages. So you can't transport anything when you have such a weather. And even if you have a jeep or a tractor, you can get stuck in Russian village easily, easily, trust me. Sometimes it's impossible to do anything. Even tractors get stuck. Supposed to take the four-wheelers out of this mud, but it can't. So, okay, transportation is done, magically done. So you brought all those bricks to this thing, but how are you gonna do it if you don't have any papers? You're just a stupid village guy. Oh, you're a professional. Okay, what kind of professional? What kind of professional can do this type of design? It has to be an architecture. Where you got that architecture? What is his name? Show me his name. Most of those buildings don't have, or say they were built by unknown architecture. But any architecture can say to you that you have to have a whole bunch of papers. And if you do this crazy design, each level of your brick masonry here is going to be different because you have this forms everywhere and all those bricks are turned around, made vertical and stuff like that. This is unimaginably hard to do if you are not a good mason. Okay, this is unimaginable. So all those guys supposed to have each level of those bricks. They know how to put the bricks, and they have to be well educated. So just not one architecture can do it. One architecture cannot tell everybody how to work. So they had to have masters of the brigade masters or something like that, who were also educated to do it. And they had to uh, hand them some papers to say, let's, you are doing this and you are doing this. So this is a paper, this is a blueprint of this wall and this wall. And they understand how to do it. Okay? Because when you do a ceiling inside the church, inside those domes, it's completely crazy because those bricks are just hanging in the air for first couple of layers, and then they stick to each other, and then they get reinforced by other bricks and stuff like that. So sometimes when you see it's a little bit ruined still, but it's still hanging on. It's hanging on just because those bricks are stuck all together and were made very tight, and very clean job. So this is unimaginable because all this thing is very hard to do, especially in the village where you don't have any architecture. You're supposed to don't have any architecture. And just believe me, it costs a fortune to build this thing. You can build a 25, we calculated that. You can build a 25-story building, modern type of building like this. Like this. It's less expensive. Just imagine how many people can live here. It's less expensive to build it than to build that. And if you calculate everything that is inside, all those paintings, all those crazy stuff, very expensive, very well done artwork. Sometimes genius artwork. It's it's all covered with gold. Sometimes every detail in church is gold, and they say it was gold. Everything was in gold in the churches, but then they got robbed after the churches were taken from us. We lost all our churches, and now what we have is a financial machine to gather the money from the people. So, okay, what else? What else? What else? This is the article about Napoleon. Some people ask me whether we have the information. So I'll leave you a link in Russian, and I also found a link in German. Somebody translated the same article. We have to research it by ourselves, because yesterday when I was live about Hitler and Napoleon coincidence, I was reading you some mixed up information, so you can understand that it's easy to tell us lies. Most of you probably believe that what I was talking completely true, but I was especially doing it for special things. So you can understand it's easy to get fooled when you have some facts real and you mix it up with unreal facts, and you mix it in some kind of theory which you back up with this Napoleon stuff which is real, and you completely believe that Lincoln and Kennedy and Napoleon and Hitler were very much in common. And some of them, some new Napoleon, some new Hitler, some new Kennedy or Lincoln gonna be born in 2018 next year. It's a huge theory. It's a conspiracy, and it's made to discredit the real information. It's made for people who actually are smart, and every time he finds something interesting, he checks by himself, he researches, does a little research, and expands the knowledge, expands the information to his own understanding and perception. It's done for these people because these people are active, and then the active people understands that they were bullshitted by the guy who gave the information. They start to laugh at it and discredit the whole conspiracy theorism and all this information around it, which probably is true, but some throws of this bull in the clean information completely discredits the information and turns the sense around, so you can be manipulated and controlled. So always check on what I was saying, because I promise I won't be doing this anymore, but this is the example of that you have to check what I'm saying, because if I'm asking you guys to check it, I'm asking it for real, because the information is really need to be checked. Not just believe me for just like that. I'm not telling you all the stories so you can believe me for nothing. Believe me after your own check, okay? But Napoleon thing is actually seems to be true. Napoleon first and Napoleon the third. Okay, and often you ask me what was so beautiful about how people were praying and what they were doing. So this is a small beach party. I don't know how to call it, but I was actually there at that time, and I was wondering to see that someone did save this information. This was in 2008, so about 10 years ago, and this is one of the beaches near the Omsk, the river of Irtysh, and you can see the annual celebration of so-called Kupala holiday. It's a in Russian Orthodox tradition. It's called Ivana Kupala, and it's connected to Saint John's, or maybe the baptized, the guy who baptized the Christ. I don't know. So, but it's actually not, because this is the real tradition I'm showing you right now. It's celebrated every year, and look, those guys doing this throw like probably the Hitler army did, but not the same, because they are covering their hat like you do when you sing American anthem, and then they throw their hand in the direction of the sky. But that was discredited by Hitler army with this Sieg Heil Nazi thing. This is what you can see is, let's rewind it a little bit. They are taking this. Here we can see it's that sword that we saw in the beginning. It looks like a cross, and it was burned. Then they take it out of this fire and drag it to the river so we can get floated away. It represents the sword of Perun. Perun is under empire, because empire is called under Perun. All these empire words were made of Perun word, which is the name of ancient god. And the sword is symbolized in Perun. Also, the lightning strike symbolizes Perun. In Greek mythology, Perun equals to Zeus. And this is the so-called cleaning. It's an ancient tradition. You have to swim into the water for 9 times after jumping above this fire, so you can clean your aura and stuff like that. All your 9 so-called bodies, spiritual, mental, and stuff like that. So every time you jump above your fire, you go and swim into the river, and so you get in line, and again you jump, and that's how you do it 9 times. This is what is left from that tradition that was actually ordinary for every village until maybe 100 years ago. So 100 years ago it started to get forgotten, and it was mixed with the day of so-called Ioan Kupala. But actually it's for the god of Kupala. Kupala similar to the god of bathing. So to take a bath and kupatsa is the same thing in Russian. And this is a tradition. In one circle the girls walk, oftenly it's done like that, and in another circle the men walk. And when they get stopped, those who are close to each other can go and, like, talk. Those girls are often not every time those girls walk, they understand that they want to get married, and those are guys who want to get married too. So this is the way they met, from different villages, from different places, that set up in this ancient holiday in one place where all those villages meet every year for their traditions. So right now it looks like an ordinary beach party with some scenario, and maybe it looks even crazy because you see the swastika on the ground and those people are jumping around. I was standing maybe behind those guys, and I didn't do this thing because they did this thing. I was a Christian at that time, and I didn't understand the tradition. I was just watching, observing this thing, because it was 10 years ago when I just started my way on researching ancient tradition and stuff like that. Of course, it was not so disorganized like this at the old times, and it was more well done, to say. But this is just a bad video production. As you can see, it was ordinary guy with the maybe photo camera. So this is the way they celebrated just one of these holidays. And the year at that time was 7516. You say what is 7516? It's the same as 2008. So if you add 9 years to 2017, today we're gonna have 7525. So in Russia we have today a 7525 year. So you understand how long is actually the calendar, which last calendar that is made from the creating of the peace, as it called the calendar from the day of creating of the peace. And it's actually proved by many documents that we find, and the dating was changed to this dating in 17th century. Again, it was the 17th, 18th, and 19th century when the changes began. We are trying to figure out what was going on in 19th century, but 18th and 17th coming up next, because until we figure out 19th century, we cannot go further. But we know that this calendar actually does exist, and some church artifacts are dated with this dating. Still, they know it, and they didn't reject the dating. So Peter I, the Russian Tsar, who changed the calendar to a European type of calendar, he just erased 5,500 years of Russian history, and even more, because all the history was changed and we don't know anything about it. We can only figure out it from the legends, from the books, from the paintings and stuff like that. So let's see, do we have any questions? Gold is superconductor. Of course it is. Maybe it is a superconductor. Why not? Of course they use it for some reason. And you know, one guy is making a research parallel to mine. So we gonna listen to his opinion pretty soon. Maybe next time I'm gonna translate an interview from the one sailor, professional sailor, who is proving actually that the theory of the flat Earth is working in sailing, and he is a professional around the world sailor, maybe even an officer on the ship. Yes, he was an officer in Russian army, at least he says that. So okay, in Russian Navy, of course, not army. So thanks a lot for watching. Hope you ask questions in the comments. If you didn't understand something, I'll try to cover that in next time. So thanks a lot. Bye.